Hello, my name is Valerie Sutton, and welcome to the SignWriting Symposium 2016. This presentation is presentation 55 by Steve Slevinski. Sorry, everybody. Yeah, please start, Steve.
All right. This is about one of my favorite topics. It is moving projects, or moving forward with sign language projects in formal sign writing. Small note, I'm also going to be giving this presentation, or hopefully parts of it, in October 7th through 10th at the Wiki Conference USA. So if you happen to be in or near San Diego, consider stopping by. This is brought to us by the big umbrella of the Center for Sutton Movement Writing. This is Valerie's nonprofit. I remember I first became interested in sign writing about 2003. Then in 2004, I started working with Valerie. 2007, I really started, well, it took me 3 years to actually learn all about the sign writing system and how it all fit together. And then in 2007, I really started trying to get the character encoding properly so that the computer could understand it, the computer could use our sign writing. And then I had a bunch of different technologies that I put together to make sign language work, or sign writing work on the computer. And then about 2012, right at the beginning of 2012, we standardized on formal sign writing. One of the great things is that we can support all sign languages right now. So for about 4.5 years, we've had stable and free standards. Formal sign writing is being picked up by other groups and other projects, so we have many implementations from separate projects. And the Center for Sutton Movement Writing is a standards organization. We've released the International Sign Writing 2010 Alphabet, and the Formal Sign Writing Standard. If you want to know more about formal sign writing, a great place to go is SignPuddle.com. We talk about formal sign writing. That's the cornerstone of the SignPuddle standard for sign writing text. With the formal sign writing, we get to use sign language as text so that we can actually get in there and we can update the texts and we can process it. Formal sign writing, it's simple, it's flexible, and it's powerful because a sign is written as a word with two parts. The first part is for visual display in 2 dimensions, and it's based on math. And the second part is for sorting it in 1 dimension, and it's based on history. I'll get into the history in a little bit. It's flexible, all sign languages supported right now, any sign is possible, the writer chooses the spelling. It's very powerful. It has a small footprint. Easy transformations and fast processing. It makes formal sign writing a powerful choice for representing sign languages text. Here is an excellent deaf perspective on sign writing video. They don't specifically address formal sign writing, but they do talk about how amazing sign writing is and how great Valerie's invention is. And formal sign writing is nothing but a faithful representation of what Sutton SignWriting is, but focused on the computer. So a lot of these things that they were talking about, they do apply to formal sign writing, even if they don't know that they are using formal sign writing, because it really is on the back end. Formal sign writing, it's a formal language based on a script encoding. It may look a little scary, but that's what a word looks like in formal sign writing. It starts with AS18711, and those are all just computer codes that help us understand. And you can actually see the breakdown of the sign because we have our time segment in the front, that's what we use for sorting, and we have our space segment in the back. And that you will see that there's different symbols at different coordinates, and that's how we get our 2-dimensional clusters. Formal sign writing is based on formal conventions because Valerie Sutton, she created a collection of visually iconic symbols that exist in a layered hierarchy. This is the 30 groups of the ISWA 2010. The exact form of each symbol is structured, it's standardized, and it's highly featural. These symbols were created by Valerie, each one custom created, and it's a very unified set. So the shape and size of the symbols are very complementary to the other symbols that are in the symbol set. This formal type of writing is called block printing, and it's used in education, publishing, and it's the basis of the computerized model. By contrast, handwriting can be used informally. You can use fewer features, you can use less details. However, when you simplify writing too much, you can create notes that are sketchy compared to the clarity of formal sign writing. So you may write a note for yourself, but you won't be able to share it with other people unless they're experienced with your type of handwriting. And that's why our formal convention of these symbols for the block printing is so important, because there's only one set that's universal for all of the sign languages that we work with. We have Freeform Construction, because sign writing is an unconventional script because it's not written sequentially. Rather than a string of letters, each symbol is written as a two-dimensional cluster of symbols. The freeform construction of the signs does not impose any rules or restriction on the writer. Because of this, any sign of any sign language can be written right now without limitation. Let's see, formal order. A little bit about history, which is kind of interesting. The 11th century Song Chinese developed the movable type printing press. So each piece of type contained a single character, mostly equivalent to a word. And these great block houses developed with hundreds of thousands of type pieces for each house. However, the Chinese logographic system, it's open-ended. And that means when you need a new word, you needed to create a new piece of type. And this was very burdensome on these block houses. And also, each house created their own specialized logograms. So only this one particular house would have this particular word or this type that they were able to use. So it was very disconnected as well. Let's see. Also, organizing all these hundreds of thousands of type pieces became a problem. It was easy to understand how to organize the basic type, but new logograms didn't have a definite place within the established order. So they created this practice of attaching a little slip of paper to unusual logograms with a sequential list of more standardized writing. And this way, each piece of type was easy to organize, and it was possible to learn the ordering of the new logograms. All of this information we can actually revisualize through sign writing, because with formal sign writing we've developed a different type of type. We have, rather than an open system where a new sign requires a new type or a new word, we have our standardized symbol set, and we just rearrange those in 2 dimensions. So even though it may seem very expansive with 37,811 different symbols, it's a closed system, because any new sign we want to write, we already have the symbols for. That organizing part, or sorting, we've actually, independently, we created the same type of idea. And you can actually see that historical is just obvious. Because in our 2-dimensional order with our sign writing, that is written in 2 dimensions. Which comes first, which comes second? Well, it's based on a theory of ordering. And right here you can see we've ordered that sign writing with Valerie's theory of the sign spelling sequence. It begins with the dominant hand, then the non-dominant hand. Dominant movement, non-dominant movement. And then you go to the other hand, dominant hand, non-dominant hand, dominant movement. This, when you organize hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands of signs, creates a really, it's an order that when you see it, you actually can start understanding it and following it. When you're trying to find a sign, you can find it in a dictionary because you know what to expect. If you have a new sign, like dream, you know what hand shape it starts with, you know where you should find it in the dictionary. More and more tools are embracing this. It's built into formal sign writing. A formal language, yes. According to Wikipedia, in mathematics, computer science, and linguistics, a formal language is a set of strings of symbols that may be constrained by rules that are specific to it. Formal signwriting is a formal language, and we have each sign as a word as a string of symbols, and we saw that before. It had the A, S, 1, and so on. For formal signwriting, a sign is a word, and it has a time element at the beginning that's optional, and has a space for two-dimension at the end that is mandatory, because if you can't see the sign, you can't do anything with it. If you want to know more about formal signwriting strings, there is a link to Section 2 of Draft Slevinski Signwriting Text, and that will cover in more detail a lot of the formal signwriting and the other parts of the specification. Formal signwriting works really excellently with fonts. Right now we are using version 1, which is the SignWriting 2010 fonts. And you can view those in the SignWriting character viewer. And what that does is the formal signwriting strings are sent back and forth from the computers, from the server, and from the browser. But it's the actual browser that accesses the TrueType fonts to display our signwriting, so it's very quick. It's really nice to use the fonts. A great thing about formal signwriting is we have copy and paste. So if you double-click or triple-click on an individual sign, and then you do the alternate click, you can get a submenu, and you can see that you can actually copy any sign that you want. It is also possible to select and copy multiple signs. And with that, you just put the mouse before the first sign, you click and you drag down, and when you get that right click, that alternate click context menu, you actually have an opportunity to copy a whole segment of signwriting, which is really nice and really powerful. Not so much here. This is getting down into the deeper details, but when you have a large section of sign text, you in HTML, we have best practices that are moving forward, and we keep making and breaking new ground. And this right here is a really excellent way to lay out signwriting. You can see examples from SignPuddle.com, or I have some examples on CodePen.io. The idea here is that we can actually copy and paste, because the formal signwriting string is actually buried within our HTML. You can see further down where we have the Unicode plain 4, plain 16, and those parts right there would actually access the font. Again, all those code examples are up there. You can dig down and actually check out what's going on. Here's an interesting presentation that's coming tomorrow, actually, I just heard about, called Sign Corpus. It's a web tool for building a parallel corpus of spoken and sign languages. It uses formal signwriting, so it's compatible with all the work that we've done, all the work that we're doing. More and more groups are adopting formal signwriting. There's a list in Draft Slevinski Signwriting Text in one of the appendixes. I believe I list all the other projects I know of that are compatible, and I keep expanding that to include the new projects like this one I'll have to put in. All right, that is just all the background really quickly about what formal signwriting is. I mentioned in October going to the Wiki conference, and what I want to do is when I go there, I want people to imagine a world in which every sign language user can freely share in the sum of all knowledge. The international signwriting community, we're working towards a future of written sign language for education, for literature, and for more. And with innovations, when they're adopted, there's the innovators that actually have to make it up. There's the early adopters that latch onto that idea. Then we get the early majority, which actually I believe that we have reached the point of the early majority in Brazil. The amount of excitement, the amount of writing, just the amount of activity in Brazil. It's actually bleeding out of Brazil into Chile, into Portugal, and many other places. Libra Escrita with Madsen Barreto. That one page has 32,000 likes. That's a bunch of people that know how to write. And when they write, they can write Sutton SignWriting by hand quickly. I remember it was 2004. Madsen asked me my name sign. So I told him my name sign, it's Steve. And he took a piece of paper and he said, like that? SignWriting is for writing, and it's being adopted throughout the world. Now, Wikimedia. What exactly is Wikimedia? Well, Wikimedia, it's a global movement whose mission is to bring free educational content to the world. You probably know about some of these projects. They have the Wikipedia, the Wiktionary, Wikivoyage, Wikispecies, Wikidata, Wikimedia Incubator, Wikimedia Labs. They have all these projects that they're gathering just a community around the world to work on these types of projects. And for all these projects, we can use sign language text encoded in formal sign writing, and we can do that right now. And several projects are actually underway. Well, realize, sign languages are human languages. Any topic that can be discussed in a spoken language can be discussed in a sign language. It's important to realize the benefits of a person being able to access information in their primary language. It's exciting to realize that sign language Wikipedia projects are now possible with Sutton SignWriting. I know that we have the American Sign Language Wikipedia, which has 50+ articles, and there's a Tunisian Sign Language Wikipedia, and that has a couple in there, and there's other ones that are ready to start. And going forward, there will be more. Wikimedia Labs. This is a tool that we're able to use. We have an open-ended project, and there's actually that link in the Wikitech, wikimedia.org, Wiki, Nova Resources, SignWriting. That is the SignWriting project on Wikimedia Labs. And what that allows us to do is to create some virtual servers, and right now we have two main projects that are up there. There's the historical or the previous generation image servers called the SignWriting Icon Server, or SWIS, and that's available at swiss.wmflabs.org. But we also have the new and more impressive SignWriting Server available at swserver.org. Those are some great resources you can check out. Progress. For the past several years, we've been working on the technical infrastructure to make it possible to have a Wikipedia in any sign language. We've been using Translate Wiki to localize the user interface. Most commonly, SignWriting is displayed vertically, and for MediaWiki, this requires a custom skin with the CSS vertical writing mode enabled. The technical details are complex. We continue to make progress. One specific progress that we made that was highlighted last year was called the SignWriting Gadget and Keyboard, also called the RAND keyboard. Developed and created by Yair Rand. He saw formal SignWriting. He was impressed with it, and without contacting me or discussing, he was actually able to create the SignWriting Keyboard, which is a way to type SignWriting right now. Back in the old days of DOS, there was a SignWriting or a SignWriter, and that actually had a keyboard interface. Later, when I came along, it became web-enabled, and we actually had a drag-and-drop interface. And that's what we're using right now. But there's also this new SignWriting Keyboard created by Yair Rand, which people are using to write articles right now. Just great progress that we're making. Well, as we've seen with Wikipedia itself, there's a snowball effect with these types of projects. More people getting involved leads to more people getting involved. One of the major factors holding back the widespread acceptance of SignWriting is having enough reading material available to make it worthwhile to learn SignWriting. Well, the sign language Wikipedia projects are important for the growth of SignWriting, and the positive effects of the sign language Wikipedias will benefit all sign language users far beyond just the particular Wikipedia projects themselves. Wikimedia Incubator. It provides a platform for new language projects to grow and develop. So right now, this is where we have the American Sign Language Wikipedia. It's actually on Incubator for Wikimedia. You can go to that link and you can view all the pages, you can view all the articles, and if you know how to write and edit, you can actually help and become a writer or an editor for the ASL Wikipedia. Oh, spread the word. Sign Language Wikipedia Wikipedia projects are not possible with Sutton SignWriting. We encourage sign language users to get involved by learning Sutton SignWriting and the MediaWiki software. We encourage the technical MediaWiki users of all levels to get involved and help us improve and streamline the technical details. And we encourage everyone to imagine a world in which every sign language user can freely share in the sum of all knowledge. And we are looking to have a real-world impact, and that one of those is through projects under Wikimedia. If anybody, like I said, happens to be in San Diego in October, we'd love to see you. We're going to talk about the formal signwriting adoption for all of our Wikimedia projects, like we have for the ASL Wikipedia, for the Tunisian Sign Language Wikipedia, possibly integrating with the Wikidata and more projects. I know that the Russian Sign Language Wikipedia projects are interested in the Unicode and the fonts and the private use area characters and how that's all involved and related, so we can discuss that topic as well. Also, presentation this year, presentation 64 is going to be very exciting. We'll be talking about the Wikipedias, but rather from a software and technical detail, more from a user perspective and more low-level details. Not low-level, less low-level. That's pretty much my presentation. I can show some of the screens and we can take a deeper look. But like I said, SignPuddle.com is a pretty great place to go to get more information.
It's wonderful, Steve. This is a terrific presentation. Thank you. It makes it come all together. We can see how all this happened. It was based on your formal sign writing development called FSW that gives the software encoding, you would say, of the International Sign Writing 2010 and made it possible to have Wikipedias and be able to write SignPuddle online. Isn't that right? That's what this is all about.
Right. So, it's all about how do you represent a sign so that the computer can process it.
Right. And so sign writing itself started as a handwriting. A lot of people don't realize that, but back in 1974, when I personally first began trying to write some Danish signs, Danish Sign Language, I was in Denmark when I first started writing signs. That was in 1974. That was a long time ago. That was like 10 years before the personal computer was even developed. Isn't that right? I would say. So, of course, you and I hadn't met yet because the personal computer hadn't been developed yet. And then, you know, a good 10 years later, the first computer program that sort of began was by Richard Gleaves, and it was the SignWriter computer program. And it used, first of all, the Apple IIe and IIc, and then we moved on to MS-DOS, and for a good 10 years, from around 1986 to 1996, it was really the only program we had. It was truly the first sign language processor. We're proud of that program, and many thanks to Richard Gleaves. And then Rich, of course, moved on to Qualcomm, and we had this software, but the internet became a part of our lives. Remember that? I mean, if you're older like I am, the internet didn't really come into my life until, wow, around mid-1990s, I started to realize there was a way to actually write email. And even though we were using a SignWriter computer program on, you know, desktop computers, we had to learn how to be on the internet. It was a new world. And I started the first website, the SignWriting site, in 1996, and put out all kinds of free materials. And all of a sudden, I started getting contacted by people, and guess what? Steve was one of those people. Now, let us think back on that, Steve. It was 2004, I think, or at least somewhere around there. And I went up into a deaf chat room one day, and I noticed they were talking about playing blackjack game with sign writing cards. And I saw there was somebody named Steve Slevinski, and he knew sign writing. And wow, so I contacted you privately, I believe, and we started talking. And pretty soon, I tell you, that was the biggest blessing, because you just started working with programming sign writing in different ways, and we ended up with SignPuddle.org, or but also we had it on signbank.org, and then you go to SignPuddle. SignPuddle Online, everybody, is a wonderful program. If you haven't used it, you should try it, because you go in and you can get dictionaries and you can write literature, all programmed by Steve, and that's with FSW, isn't it, Steve? SignPuddle Online, right?
Right. Yeah, SignPuddle Online really was my development playground, where you told me how it worked, and I had to figure out how to make it work.
Yeah, and it was great because you were so respectful of Richard Gleave's original work and based a great deal of it on the old SignWriter computer program, but all of us had no choice but to move on to new software because the web changed everything, didn't it? We were no longer just on an old MS-DOS computer. We had to break out and bring SignWriting to the world of the internet and to the web. And that's what you've done for us, and we're grateful to you for it. Then the Wikipedia, Steve has been discussing that. As he said already, Steve said, we already have a presentation 64 coming up in 2 days on the 21st. And there's a whole team of people who have worked on the concept of sign language Wikipedias, but it had to start with Steve and his software, because without FSW, we wouldn't be able to write the articles in the Wikipedia. So you started working on that project, and the Wikimedia Foundation was so kind to us to donate server space and gave us the place to experiment, didn't they? Mm-hmm. And so now we've got both the Wikimedia Labs, but we also have the incubator. And in presentation 64 on July 21st, it's the last presentation in the SignWriting Symposium 2016 this year. Please go there, everybody, and see it, because it has actually become a deaf presentation in American Sign Language. I didn't know what I wanted very much just to tell everybody about all of the people involved with the Wikipedia projects for sign languages. And if you go to our webpage on that page, which is presentation 64, you will see that I've listed all the names of everybody involved. And it started out with the Wikimedia Labs and with Steve. And Steve started programming on their servers and gave us the ability to be able to write down in vertical columns. Of course, it took time, didn't it, Steve? The browsers had to change to be able to accept your software. Wasn't that right?
There have been several technical issues that time has solved, because we're not the only people having these types of problems. So as the browsers are getting more advanced and sophisticated, we can actually tap those new developments, specifically in this case the vertical writing mode.
Yeah, very interesting, isn't it? Now, is there more that you want to show? Because I don't want to, take time talking about presentation 64, but I do want to thank everybody who has contributed to the Wikipedias. There's Nancy Romero, who wrote 48 articles. Can you imagine? And that's a lot of articles. And Nancy's 48 encyclopedia articles in the Wikipedia for ASL were all done through your SignPuddle online software. And then Nancy would copy the FSW code, isn't that right? And then she would paste it into the Wikipedia area. You see, I don't know too much. I don't even know how to do that myself, but everybody else are experts at it. So, and I know your goal is to make it easier and easier to do this job. Isn't that right?
Yeah, it's complicated and involved sometimes, but we are getting easier and smaller and quicker, and as more people get involved, we'll get more tools. It's really starting to snowball.
So, Steve, do you have something more to show us?
I was thinking about showing some things on my screen over here.
Let's do that. Let's do that. We got sidetracked in the history. Yeah, let me see that. That'd be fun. What is that all about?
This is SignPuddle.com, and this actually is a live FSW interpreter, because if we look at this text all in this this line, this right here I have highlighted with just by double-clicking the FSW word, it highlights it, and I can delete it. And you can see that the text at the bottom automatically changes and updates. So all of this code is there and it's automatically interpreted. I could select all of it, And if I delete all that FSW, it just says, hey, put a formal SignWriting string in there. Let me show you. I was talking about copying and pasting individual signs. And that you can just double-click on it. And if you do the right-click, you can see that it has that in there. So if I take all this out of here, and I just put in that sign I copied, you can see that the sign I copied is actually there. It also works for extended text. So if I want to copy from here to the end of the paragraph, again, I can select it all by dragging. I can copy it, go up there, and just put what I copied in there. And you can see that what I copied is actually available. What's really nice, since we are standardizing on this formal SignWriting, let me go up to the incubator. Now the link here is incubator.wikimedia.org/wiki/wp/ase. There will probably be links that you can find for this. A lot easier than remembering that. I'm just going to go to the all pages in this test wiki. And what this will do will give me a list of all the titles of the articles that we have. And when that screen refreshes, there we go, I'm going to scroll down. And you can see that these are all the titles for all of the pages that are in our Wikipedia right now. Now here is a new one that was written by Holly. Can you say her last name, Val? I'm sorry.
Holly Scherer.
Holly Scherer, right. And she wrote this article right here on Salvador Dali.
Salvador Dali, yes.
Right. All right, so here is the article, and you can see it's actually quite a large article. And it will scroll up.
You've done a lot, huh? Oh my gosh, I haven't seen all this. Holly, you've done a great deal. Wow.
So I'm going to use that same technique I used before. Click above the first sign, and I will just, let me do that. It worked in practice. I'm just going to select a hue. I don't know why it's doing that. There we go. Unfortunately, on this one, we don't get the highlight, but it actually did select it, and I can copy it. And again, I can go back to SignPuddle.com, and when I paste that in, I get that article section that I just copied from the Wikimedia.
Wow. So we're able to copy a chunk of SignWriting from an article in a Wikipedia, a sign language Wikipedia.
Mm-hmm.
And then paste it elsewhere using the FSW code underneath. So, you know, for people who don't know FSW, it doesn't matter very much because it looks like a bunch of numbers and letters, like ASCII code, essentially. But when you paste it, all of a sudden it comes up SignWriting. Look at that. Wow. Very cool. So is it supposed to be highlighted normally with color? It didn't do that for you just now in the Wikipedia, did it?
Right, yeah, there's a different... the way that they have the Wikimedia or the ASL Wikipedia programmed, there's something to do with the highlighting and the selection. It's a little bit weird. We're working on that one aspect, but normally the new technique will give you this highlight backup to say that, hey, that actually is highlighted, where it may not always show that it's highlighted, but you can still copy and paste it.
Well, very good. So now we can copy and paste big chunks of SignWriting and put it into another document, couldn't we? Could we put our cursor inside another document and paste a paragraph from a document over there?
Mm-hmm.
We can actually copy and paste from different articles. Okay, that's great. That's new.
Right, and if you see a sign that you like somewhere, you can just copy that sign. The idea is that we're all able to share. We all have the same standard. We can all use the same tools. We can all develop and work together.
That's wonderful. Really lovely. So exciting.
Mm-hmm.
So and this is on SignPuddle.com. So if somebody would like to see this more, just on your own computer later on after this presentation, just go to SignPuddle.com, right? And they can see this and play around with it.
And it also has more resources. I have a link to SignPuddle.org, which is just a community of writers, with the link to SignPuddle online on SignBank and SignPuddle 3 development that I'm working on. There's a link to SignPuddle.net, a developer API. That's actually every day it gets the SignPuddle online data and puts it into a database, and it makes it available through a developer API. Further down on this page, there's also a bunch of links at the bottom. There is like links to the SignWriting 2010 fonts, or a link to the SignWriting JavaScript library, the character viewer, that document I was talking before, the SignPuddle standard for SignWriting text, which is draft Slevinski SignWriting text, links to the SignWriting server, SignPuddle Online, and SignMaker.
Wow.
Great tools.
Very cool indeed. And you know, SignMaker is actually a program, a standalone program now. It's SignMaker 2015, isn't it? And that's also available. It's also available on the web. Everybody, if you go to signbank.org, you'll see on the front page of signbank.org a whole bunch of different links to, you know, all kinds of software that Steve has developed, and others as well. So, tell us more, Steve.
Oh,
yeah, there's SignMaker. Yeah. Now I see SignMaker, I think.
Yep, SignMaker. Like I said, all the information from SignPuddle Online is available there. So if you wanted to the dictionary US for American Sign Language, again, there that has the formal sign writing available on there too. That's should be on the dictionary tab. Oh, there's the page. All right.
Wow, it's starting to come up. That's right. It takes a minute to come up on all the videos that people are watching. So give it a moment, everybody.
Yep. So you click on the sign to load it, and you can see our visual two-dimensional arrangement. You can also see our dimensional arrangement. And under the dictionary tab, we have that formal sign writing string right there, or FSW.
Very good.
So
you can actually copy it there. Yeah, so the sign that's above in the yellow box that shows, you know, the actual sign written in SignWriting is then represented in the FSW orange string there. Now, those two are the same thing. That's what's so fascinating to me, that you were, in your brilliance, were able to take what we were writing by pencil, by hand, and then later by computer, and you took that and you created this string of formal sign writing with letters and numbers. And it looks like, you know, something that nobody could normally read, and it gives us the sign writing. I find that to be phenomenal. I don't know how you did it, but it is astonishing, because it means we can copy and paste the FSW on the web anywhere that will accept it. And that's my one question. Let's say you do have the sign like that, and you copy the FSW. Where can we paste it? What are the programs that accept FSW?
Well, any of the any of the sign language Wikipedias, you can paste FSW in there. You can use it for the sign writing server on SignPuddle.net. You can use it in SignMaker, and with about 6 kilobytes of programming, 6,000 characters of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, you can really display FSW anywhere on the web, just with a couple of.
So if we just add a little bit more encoding to the end, is it at the end? It makes it pastable everywhere?
It's pastable anywhere if you add, like if we wanted to use it in other software, if that software doesn't support FSW already, with just a little bit of code, you can make it so that it does support FSW.
Okay, so you'll have to tell us how we can do that. Like if we wanted to paste into Microsoft Word, would that additional encoding help us do that?
The additional, it's not encoding. We're done with the encoding. Formal sign writing has been stable for 2.5 years. Oh no, it's how to get the websites to understand it and program it. Now, going back to SignMaker, one of the neat benefits of SignMaker is if you want to use it in something that doesn't understand formal sign writing, you can actually go to the More tab and say that you want a ping image of that.
Right.
And that just gives you a ping, and you can save the image as, you can copy the image location, and so if it doesn't support FSW and you want to use it, you can do a PNG image or an SVG image, and that will give you the visual representation of that sign.
Of course. And then it becomes a graphic and it can be put anywhere. That's great. And the fact that FSW is being used with the RAND keyboard as well means we can type somewhat into text fields, I guess, right?
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, they for the RAND keyboard, they do put it right in the text field. The RAND keyboard is a really neat project.
Yeah. Oh, look at the sign here. Very nice.
So
okay.
That's basically everything that we have about formal signwriting. There's all kinds of links. You can check out more information. You can try out all the code that we have. You can contact me personally if you want, or you can read all the documentation and figure it out on your own. But I encourage everybody, if you're working with sign language and you want to use sign language as text, you need to use Sutton SignWriting, and the encoding of the data is called formal signwriting.
Excellent presentation, Steve. Thank you, and thank you for this enormously important development. I must tell you, I would never have dreamt that SignWriting would be so useful in computers. I think it's because of your development, and originally Richard Gleaves, and then you came and did totally new work. This FSW has changed our lives, and it's made writing sign language on the internet really possible. I mean, people do it on their phones now, don't they? I mean, we can. Yeah, we're certainly working on it, but I mean, right now the sign maker works well. We have the great opportunity of writing Wikipedias. So I want to thank you for today, and Steve will be having 2 more presentations in this symposium. I guess it is presentation 61 and 62 are 2 that you're going to be presenting. 61, I believe, tell us the title of 61, Steve. I don't have it in front of me.
That should be Unicode and rich text considerations.
Yeah, it's called, here we go. It is called SignWriting in Unicode and Rich Text Considerations, because you see SignWriting, the International SignWriting Alphabet 2010, is a part of Unicode. It was accepted into Unicode version 8 back, I guess, in the summer of 2015, I believe. And Steve will be going to another Unicode meeting of the technical committee this year. There are still technical issues with Unicode to have it work properly with SignWriting, but we're grateful that the symbols themselves are within the Unicode system, and we're very lucky that they have chosen to take the time to make this possible for everybody, because it's good for the world that Unicode works well. And then that's presentation 61, and then presentation 62, which is the next day, is called SignPuddle 3 Front and Back. So Steve is developing new software. The SignPuddle Online right now is version 2. So version 3 is the next generation of SignPuddle Online. That I'm looking forward to seeing that. That's going to be a program we're probably going to be using for the next decade. So thank you for those 2. And then in presentation 64, on the last day, we'll be discussing Wikipedias and discussing everybody's teamwork. And Adam Frost, Jason Nesmith, and Holly Scherer will be signing an ASL in American Sign Language, and we have an interpreter, Andrew Olson from the Code Brothers, will be interpreting. So it will be a live discussion in ASL about all of the work that goes into creating a Wikipedia article, and also thanking all those who have done so much already. So I want to thank you, Steve, and this is the end of our first day of the SignWriting Symposium 2016. It's been very successful. You can go up and see us anytime on the live streaming page on signwriting.org. Just go to the front page and you can scroll down and you can see the 3 videos from today. And tomorrow morning is, for me it's morning, but for some it's afternoon, but no matter what, tomorrow is the next day of the symposium, and we are going to have a presentation from Tunisia, a presentation from Brazil, and a presentation from Portugal. We have a very international day tomorrow. So see you tomorrow at the Symposium 2016. Thank you, Steve.
Thanks, Val.
Bye-bye.